So we talked about planning a shoot, you know, in recent episodes, for example, planning a shoot, client expectations.
Yep.
If, and this is sort of bread and butter for us, during most shoots, you'll have a head-up interview, like a talking head shot, they call it, right? But if you, again, you said it to me last time, if you haven't got the budget for a production crew to come in, a film crew, or even a one-man camera band. If you're really constrained with budget, like you've just started a new business, for example, and it's just you and another person and one phone, like how do they go about organizing an interview, planning an interview? How do you, it's easy to say, oh, I can interview now, like a job interview.
Yeah.
But is that the same as an interview for a film or a business profile? How do you go about going, well, where do we start with that?
Well, I mean, to be fair, after a while, it becomes easier because, I mean, having been a journalist and, you know, worked for a newspaper and then worked in communications for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I could throw you next door immediately with a random guest you've never met before.
Yeah.
And you could pull off an interview.
100%.
But
But that's because
time,
of
training, experience.
Just years of doing it.
Yeah.
But I think the key things are if you've not done a lot of interview and certainly when I started, that's probably the best place to go. So when I was first a journalist on a newspaper, I was a junior reporter on a local rag. And before I went out to see anybody, whether it was someone famous or a politician or just a headmistress or whatever, I'd write down a list of all my questions that I was going to ask, okay? And they need to follow the W's. So who, what, where, when, why, and then obviously how,
Indeed.
So when you conduct an interview, you know, initially, who are you? You know?
Matt Lee.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
So who are you? And then it's around a topic. So say, for example, we were going to talk about a new road.
Yes.
Yeah, a new road's being built and Lincolnshire County Council or Hertfordshire County Council, whoever, building this new road. Okay, I would sit down with Daniel, who's the head of highways at Lincolnshire County Council, and I say, "Hello, Daniel."
Is he actually?
No, it's a guy called Richard Davis. Hi, Richard. Do you want me to say Richard? I'll say Richard. It doesn't matter. He'll enjoy the name drop. Yeah. He's a friend of mine. So, hi, Richard. I'll say, Richard, can you just introduce, on camera, obviously, in written it's different, but Richard, could you just introduce yourself and give me your job title? And he'd say, oh, hi, I'm Richard Davies. I'm the portfolio holder for highways for Lincolnshire County Council. Thank you very much. And then you'd say, so Richard, we're thinking about building this new road. Where is the road going to go to and from? So where? W. Okay. So this new relief road is going to go from the edge of Grantham, because we've got one actually being built here, southern edge of Grantham, over to the top of Old Summerby, and it's going to effectively redirect a large amount of heavy goods traffic from the centre of Grantham. Okay, great, fantastic. And how much is that road going to cost? That's the H. How much is the road going to cost? Oh, it's going to cost £52 million. Great. So you want to follow that down and just build a story and build a narrative. But one of the key things, and the thing that used to really grind gears, is I used to see it a lot, and I may have been guilty of it early doors, but I very quickly learned not to, is you want to actively listen to an answer.
2 ears, 1 mouth.
2 ears, 1 mouth, right? So actively listen to what your interviewee is telling you. So if I had said to Richard Davies, hi, Richard, can you tell me a bit about this new road that's going to be built? And he said, well, the new road's going to effectively be a southern relief road. It's going to relieve pressure on Grantham Town Centre by removing heavy goods lorries. It's going to be 5 miles long and it's going to cost £15 million. If my next question is, so how long is the road going to be, Richard? And he'll go, well, as I've said, it's going to be 5 miles long. You know, it's going to redirect all the heavy goods traffic to avoid the pressure that we're currently getting on the high street. Okay,
Your
great.
third question written down
is, so how much is it going to cost? Very quickly, he's going to get, well, as I've said already in my previous answer, and he's going to get noticeably more ratty because you're not actually listening to him. You're just effectively asking questions by number.
Which is lazy.
But also, crucially, some of the best interviewers in the world, and I'm not one of the best interviewers in the world by any stretch, but I'm a fairly good interviewer of people, is if you're actively listening and you're basically not really thinking about your questions, go back at the end and make sure you've covered them off.
More of a comfort blanket.
Have a conversation. Yeah, because Richard might have said, so the road's going to be 5 miles long, and it's going to cost £15 million, and it's going to go from here to here. And the next question I might ask is, okay, great. what is the added value? What's going to be part of the infrastructure, as part of the Section 106 monies or whatever, as part of the new road? What's it going to do? And he's going to say, oh, well, it's part of this new housing development, and there's going to be a new school and new doctors, whatever. And then my follow-on might not be on my list. It might be, oh, great, okay, so the new school is a secondary or primary. And he might say, oh, there's going to be one of each. I'll say, oh, fantastic. Well, we could do with a new primary school. What pressure is that going to relieve on the current system? And it might not be on there, but it might be something that he said that I've picked up on as a follow-up question. It happens all the time, where you end up with a really lovely story and you end up getting far better out of somebody.
I was going to say, you're getting more out of him than you would have planned originally.
100%.
Because you've not only put him at ease, but he's now having a tete-a-tete, a back and forth with you.
Yeah.
And he's having to think of stuff because you're asking him questions on the cuff.
That's right.
And he's probably going to give you more information than he's given any journalist before because he's thinking it off the cuff. He's not like trotting out these pre-planned answers, right? So
the best interviews end up being conversational, and they end up being those ones where it doesn't feel like it's an interview. It just feels like a couple of people having a chat. Now, a good example is this podcast. So we don't have a script. We don't really discuss what we're going to talk about. We have a question that is effectively the topic for our show, which answers a question that our viewers or listeners might have. And then we talk to each other about it. And then you'll listen to what I'm saying. I'll listen to what you're saying. And then we'll pick up on something and it will follow on.
Or it'll spur memory because we know each other.
Because we know each other, whatever. And some of the best interviews that I've seen are exactly that way. And the best interviewers put their guests at ease and they effectively use their questions as and as well as.
Yeah. Like Joe Rogan, for example, he does like 2.5, 3 hour podcasts. He does prep on the guest.
He can't have all of those questions written down.
Crazy.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And the best, as I say, when you're looking to build content for your business, you need to have a narrative. And we've spoken about having planning and storyboarding and questions and questions and interviewing go into that. Yeah. But it's about having a little bit of a plan that you can work to, but then letting it evolve and have that freedom of movement between topic and people, and actually actively listening to the answers. Some of our customers and our clients, one of the guys, a guy called Chris Watkin, who's a big property industry influencer guy, property market influencer. He's an influencer. My friend Chris Watkin, the property market influencer. Sorry, Chris. I want to clip that and make that as short. My friend Chris Watkin, the property market influencer, that he hates being called.
He does.
When he first started doing his interviewing, he was terrible for having a list of questions and then just going one after the other, after the other, after the other, and not actively listening.
Because your interviewee, switches off.
Yes.
They stop engaging with what you're talking because you're now boring them.
Correct.
Because you're not listening.
Then all of a sudden their interviews are really short because the answers become shorter and the conversation doesn't flow. So
you can look out for it on the news, by the way.
Yeah, you can. It's
like
really
Chris mentioned earlier, as I mentioned in my previous answer, sometimes you'll see that on live interviews with the BBC even, where the junior reporters just accidentally asked a question that they'd already had written down and has actually just been answered.
Well, some of the worst ones, I mean, you have people like Andy Murray who will shoot a reporter down like fast if they ask something. Like I think someone said, "Oh, are you thrilled to be the first man to win? The first person to win, the major title, first British person or whatever." And he went, "Men's." And whatever. And it's the badly researched questions as well. Badly researched questions and also just ones where you've already had the information. It just annoys people. So my top 3 tips for interviewing are: 1, make sure you know where the direction of the conversation is going to go or where you'd like it to go for your output. Design and build your questions in advance so you've got them to fall back on, and also they at least give you an opener. And the third thing is to actively listen to the answers you're being given to see if there are any interesting follow-up questions you can ask that you hadn't thought of initially. And that's how to conduct a really great interview.
Top tips.
You're welcome.
And tune in again next week for more top tips from Matt, Chris.
Cheers.
But also make video for your business, right?
Make some video for your business.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.